McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
The safety, now you're one-on-one with it.
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, welcome back. We have a new episode with a new person right here. We have NFL Draft, author of Titans of the South. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's a really cool book. We have Justin. How you doing today, Justin?
Doing well, man. Appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, love your work. Always follow your stuff. Today, talk to us. Who are we talking about today in this video?
Yeah, we're going to go on about Jackson Slater, Titans 5th-round pick, 167 overall, interior offensive lineman out of Sacramento State. I thought that was probably the best value pick the Titans made in the entire draft.
Really? All right, nice. And can you tell me some of his strengths and some of his weaknesses, something that you liked off the top of your head when we picked this draft?
Yeah, so Jackson Slater, again, played at Sac State, small school guy playing in the Big Sky Conference, right? So, not a whole lot of competition up there. He goes to the Senior Bowl, which was huge. And right away, what that tells me, someone who's kind of in the know about these things, he was on NFL teams' radar already. If you're a small school or you get an invite to the Senior Bowl, chances are that's because the Senior Bowl was asked by people in the NFL saying, hey, you know what? We want to see this kid up against legit competition. We think there might be something there on tape, but we've got to see how he does against guys from the SEC, the Big Ten, things of that nature. So he goes to the Senior Bowl, and he was really freaking good. He looked like he belonged, blocking those guys. Again, 320, 330-pound guys from the SEC. He just never looked out of place out there. So that was huge. So from there, he goes to the NFL Combine. He's 6'3", 311. He jumps a 9-foot broad jump and post 31 reps on the bench press. I mean, that is super athletic and super strong as well. In fact, he runs the 40 in 5.01 seconds. A 311-pound interior lineman, that's really, really good. I don't know about you. I run like a 6.5-second 40, so pretty. And he's about double my size. So to do that at 311 pounds, just super impressive. I thought this whole time, he had elevated his draft stock.
Okay.
You go to the Senior Bowl, you check that box. You go to the Combine, you check that box. I thought there was a chance he was going to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Now, I guess I was obviously way off base on that, but for the Titans to get him at 167, 5th round, I think it's going to be their steal of the draft. I've already predicted he's going to start for them in 2026 as a sophomore. So really excited to see how this one plays out.
Where do you see maybe that he needs to clean up in some of his game that you've seen before?
Yeah, well, I think it's just becoming more consistent, right? Anytime you play it again in the Big Sky Conference, you're certainly going to get used to NFL level competition. I think you asked about his strengths. To go back there, I thought he's really athletic on tape, a really good fit for the zone blocking scheme. He played a lot of positions in college. It's funny, the one that he didn't really play was center. And I talked to him about that, and he said NFL scouts have told him they think he's probably going to be a center at the next level, that's his best overall fit. I'm curious to see how the Titans handle that process for him, because, again, you ask about where he needs to improve. Getting reps at center is going to be totally new for him. Mm-hmm. I think I got a hunch that he's probably going to get a lot of reps at guard, once rookie mini camp and camp's underway. They don't have a lot behind, the starters, Peter Skoronski and Kevin Zeitler. So I think they probably start him at guard. Maybe he works in at center. He's got that 3-positional versatility, in my opinion. And the good thing is, with Kevin Zeitler being like 34 years old on a 1-year deal, I think there's a good chance he's their future starter at right guard. But I also look at center, and, the quiet part out loud that people aren't really saying is, Lloyd Cushenberry coming off a serious season-ending Achilles injury. They can move on from him next offseason if he doesn't bounce back the way they hope that he does, right? There's some money to be saved there by cutting him. And don't forget, new GM Mike Borgonzi, he's released a lot of the Rand Carthon moves already, right? Moving on from Cheeto Awuzie, moving on from Kenneth Murray. What's one more, right? He seems pretty anxious to cut ties with some of those moves that Rand Carthon made. So I really like this pick. Yes, he's got to become a more consistent player to go back to your question, what he's got to work on. He's got to acclimate to pro football. A lot of these small schoolers, they get to this level and they find out they can't hang, right? There's a big difference. I don't think that's going to be the case for Jackson Slater. I'm really high on him, but certainly becoming a consistent pro is on the to-do list.
Nice. And who would you, from the NFL point of view, who would mimic his style? Like, where do you see like him resemble? What kind of player?
I'm not a big comps guy. I'll be honest with you. I'll say this: when they took him, I like talking about systems and schemes
Okay.
that I think he could fit. I personally think they when they draft them, for me, this is a guy that is so athletic. We talked about the combine numbers that I think thrives in like a zone blocking system. And I don't think that's a coincidence that the Titans have gone out and got him because Bill Callahan's one of the godfathers of the West Coast offense, O-line coach and the zone blocking system. Brian Callahan, head coach, to me, is a bit of a chameleon, and it's one of his strengths I don't think we talk about enough. Like, if you have followed Coach Callahan's history, and when he was hired in Tennessee, we all did a lot of work on what he likes to call. When he first got to Cincinnati, remember, they had 1 year without Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they ran a lot of zone blocking stuff, was sort of the forefront of his offense and Zach Taylor, right? Zach Taylor's offense, who had also worked with Sean McVay. All one big coaching tree of the West Coast offense, because Sean McVay really adapted that system as well. And then when they get Joe Burrow there, I thought Coach Callahan did a great job adapting. Joe Burrow does not like the zone blocking system at all. That's not what he did at LSU. And they changed that offense to fit what Joe likes. But I thought as Coach Callahan came to Tennessee, you saw a lot of that influence back in the first year offense in terms of the zone blocking system. When I look at the linemen that they have, a guy like Dan Ward Jr., they signed in free agency, who played under Arthur Smith this past year in Pittsburgh. That was obviously a zone blocking system based on what Coach Smith did here in Tennessee. I don't think this is a coincidence at all. And again, Lloyd Cushenberry, we talked about, played under Mike Munchak for a little bit in Denver. So I certainly think that the zone blocking system is one that fits Jackson Slater really, really well. And I think Tennessee is going to continue incorporating those looks into the playbook.
Perfect, man. I appreciate it. Justin, I want to say thank you, first of all, foremost, of coming on, jumping on, and talking a little bit about our draft picks and stuff like that. Appreciate your work. You're killing it. Like I said, love your book, and keep doing what you're doing. Every Titan fan will follow you. Trust me. We'll put your information on the tab below, and look forward to covering and having you back on sometime in the season, man.
Thanks. I appreciate the kind words. I actually got the book. You can probably see the book in the background, but this is the book right here. It's called Titans of the South, Photographs and History of the Tennessee Titans. If you're a Titans fan, you haven't picked it up yet. I released it really just a couple of months ago. It chronicles the entire history of the Titans, dating back to the Houston Oilers from 1960 all the way up to 2024. It took me a couple of years to put together. You can get it anywhere books are sold, Amazon.com. You find it Barnes & Noble and all that. I got a great piece coming out this Monday about Cam Ward that I think Titans fans are going to be really excited to read. I sat down with his head coach, Eric Morris, at Incarnate Word, who eventually becomes his offensive coordinator and QB coach at Washington State as well. Coach Morris spent a lot of time detailing the trajectory that Cam Ward went on, how they improved his game, how have they turned him in from a raw prospect who didn't really throw the ball in high school to what we see now as a number 1 overall pick. So that'll be out on titansize.com. Check that one out. Head over to the Draft Network as well. We've got you covered for all your draft needs.
Well, there you go, guys. All the Titan fans, head out that way. Justin does some good stuff. I want to say thank you again and appreciate it, man.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.